Once upon a time, there was the greatest and most powerful of all the eagles soaring in the sky. This eagle lived on the peaks of high mountains, far from the eyes of the whole world, could soar as he wished in the endless sky, and was a being that even the wind respected. The sky trembled with every flap of its wings, and every bird around it tried to follow its path. That eagle was like a symbol of nature's power. He had established a kingdom in the sky. But every power also has an end. The fact that even the strong one day weakens and can fall was a situation that everyone sometimes ignored. One day, this eagle, after years of superiority, crashed slowly but surely to the ground. Its wings suddenly became so weak that they could not flap. The sky watched the moment its kingdom ended. The beginning of the fall was not triggered by a great storm or a strong wind. No, this fall was a void hidden in the heart of an eagle. Years of loneliness and inner conflicts were now weighing him down, constantly pulling him down. Those around him looked at him and said, "He has a power inside him, he can overcome this." Component placement. But this emotional impasse the eagle was in was much greater than his physical strength. One day, while the eagle was soaring in the sky, he suddenly suffered an internal blow. His wings shook as if from an external effect. The wind pushed hard as if it was against him, and the eagle lost control even though he had the power to overcome everything. A great collapse began. As he flew, those beautiful golden wings were tightly wrapped around him, and the eagle began to move rapidly towards his magnificent fall. No one wanted to watch the fall. The fact that even the strongest could fall from time to time was everyone's nightmare. But the eagle stopped right next to where it had crashed. It made no loud noise, no dramatic explosion. It just sat on the ground, pale-eyed, with broken wings, exhausted. In everyone's eyes, that eagle had disappeared. It was weak enough to take a step forward. The eagle on the ground did not move for several minutes. Even breathing was painful for it. The birds around it were shocked to see the eagle in this state. It was terrifying for the other birds to see such a powerful being so tired that he could no longer fight for anything. However, many of them considered the eagle's fall as only a temporary setback. "He is an eagle. He will rise again," they said. However, there was a deep darkness in the eagle's eyes. Even he himself was not sure that he could fly again. One day, a child came to see the eagle. He was not a child who was afraid of falling like the other birds. He approached bravely, stroked the eagle's head, and said, "There is no such thing as you cannot fly." These words awakened the emotional emptiness inside the eagle a little. At that moment, the eagle realized something. The fall was not the end, but there was only one way for this transformation. He had to find the strength inside him again. But everything has its time. In order to make that inner transformation, he had to believe in something first. During the few days he spent with the boy, he began to move his wings again. He tried to get up several times, but each time his legs gave out and he fell to the ground. After a few weeks, the eagle's situation changed. He had indeed begun to regain his strength, but no one was helping him do this. He had to rely only on his own inner strength. He needed no one, no bird. Now the most critical moment of the eagle's story began. This was not just a story of rebirth, but a struggle for freedom. He decided to fly again. The eagle's fall was not just a physical collapse, it was also the beginning of a spiritual transformation. From that moment on, everything had changed. Something was different in his mind, heart, and body, but he had yet to fully understand something. The pain of the fall had weakened him both internally and physically. He was wounded, but he was still alive. The eagle had begun to live with the boy as he had for several weeks. The boy had, in a sense, given him new life. He had reawakened not just a bird, but a soul that was trying to hold on to life. But no matter how much he was recovering, the eagle still could not fully grasp something. He questioned whether he would ever regain his old strength. Would the sky be as accessible to him as it had been before? Would he ever feel that old freedom again? At first, everything was still blurry. After taking a few steps, he tried to expand his wings, thinking that he could fly again, but they were not as strong as before. His entire body structure seemed to be an alien. His wings no longer had the glorious golden color they once had. Their beauty seemed to have faded now. He realized that he would not be able to rise again so easily. He slowly sat down on the ground, closing his wings. This time he was not in pain, but there was an emptiness. That emptiness made him feel that the power inside him had disappeared. But there was something. The boy would come to him every morning and encourage him. "You can do this," he would say. "You are an eagle. The sky is your natural place." The eagle felt the power of these words, but there was still an obstacle. That obstacle was insecurity. "Can I really do it? Can I really fly?" he asked himself. There was a kind of fear inside him. Perhaps he had lost his old power. One day, the boy made him an offer. "Come on, I will show you something," he said. The eagle decided to go to a forest outside the city with the boy. The boy showed the eagle a place where he would feel safe. The forest was a place that suited the eagle's nature. Tall trees stretched towards the sky. The sounds the wind made as it blew through the branches gave him a strong sense of freedom. At first, the eagle looked around a little timidly. Everything, the rivers, the trees, the birds, all of these seemed familiar to him. But now that he looked more carefully, they all seemed like symbols. He wanted to find the lost freedom inside him again, but he had to take a step for it. But he didn't know what to do. The boy turned to him and smiled and said, "You can start here." The eagle closed his eyes and took a deep breath. There was a sparkle in his eyes. Indeed, it was time to find his freedom again. His mind had become clear. This was perhaps the moment he had been waiting for a long time. The boy approached the eagle to encourage him. "If you don't take the first step, nothing will change," he said. The eagle listened to these words. He took a step forward, and then another. He started to move forward slowly. With each step, something changed. He felt as if his wings were getting lighter again. After a while, he tried to fly closer to the ground. His wings were finally regaining their former strength. He noticed the hope in his eyes. The sky was still close to him somehow, so close that it seemed like there was only one more step left. But still, after a few steps, he fell back to the ground. However, this time the fall was less painful because he knew that falling was not the end, but only a lesson. He was getting better every day. The boy supported him with every step. Each time, the eagle tried to fly by opening his wings a little more. But this time, the flights were very different from his previous flights. Each flap of his wings was less proud, but on the other hand, it was more humane. Because now, while flying, he felt not only his strength, but also the emotional power within him. As he soared through the sky, he carried the pain of the past and left them behind. One day, he decided to reach the peak of a very high mountain. That mountain was both a symbol and a difficult test for him. Reaching the peak would offer him the opportunity to regain his inner strength. The boy encouraged the eagle and set out on this path with him. A difficult journey began. Along the way, the eagle always managed to take a few more steps. In his mind, he found courage with the thought of power and freedom. As they approached the peak of the mountain, the fears inside the eagle began to melt away. Flying, which was once impossible for him, was now possible with just a little courage and determination. Finally, they managed to reach the peak. The eagle slowly opened its wings and began to feel the wind. Suddenly, everything changed. That old power and courage revived inside the eagle. The sky was the domain of his old kingdom. Now, every flap of the eagle's wings was an awakening in the sky. At the peak, the eagle enjoyed the wind for a while. Then, very slowly on its own, it began to fly freely. The boy smiled happily as he watched this moment. Because now the eagle had only his own power to achieve something. He knew what to trust. The eagle could not only fly, he had rediscovered his inner strength and courage. No one would dare to bring him down, because he had rediscovered his own strength, freedom, and nature. When the eagle soared towards the sky, it was as if he took off with all the pain of his past. He was now stronger. However, with each rise, fears and traumas he had never faced before also emerged. Feeling the wind in the heights had given him freedom again, but freedom was not always easy. It always had a price. Every flap of the eagle's wings, every step he took towards the sky was a new stage of growth and healing, but he still had doubts about exactly how strong he was, because everything changed while flying, but sometimes the gaps inside him still felt like they had not completely closed. He continued to search for the lost piece within him in the sky. As the days passed, the eagle spent less time on the ground. The child was still supporting him, but this time it was different. The child had started to interfere less as the eagle began his inner journey by flying. Now the eagle had to travel alone. The sky was whispering to him that he should also be tested with loneliness. With each flap of his wings, he felt lonelier, but this loneliness was like a feeling mixed with freedom. Sometimes being free meant being alone. One day, with the first light of the morning, Kartal decided to climb a higher mountain than ever. He had a clear goal in mind. Climbing the highest mountain to the summit was a journey that would test his physical and spiritual strength. But this was not just about climbing a mountain. The summit of the mountain was a symbol that would also overcome his shortcomings and insecurities. The boy offered to go with him, but Kartal decided to go alone this time. "We can go together, but this time I have to walk on my own," he said. The boy nodded and supported him. Kartal was walking with an inner guidance. With each step, he faced the shadows of the past, and with each height he climbed, he came back stronger than the previous version. The climb was difficult and tiring. The rocks were sliding, the wind was getting stronger. Each step brought him a new challenge, but each challenge was the messenger of a reward. As he slowly approached the summit, Kartal wanted to rest for a moment. When he sat on a high rock and looked around, the view was beautiful, but there was something beneath the view. That moment had to belong only to him. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes, thinking. He had to make peace with his past. Every step he would take forward would help him get rid of the influence of the past. That sky belonged to him, but flying with the traumas inside him, being completely free was the most difficult thing for him. His fears, pains, losses, all of them were waiting for him at this summit. But there was something, as if he was climbing to that summit, he was also climbing to the summit of his soul. At one point, he opened his eyes again, and suddenly everything became clear. At that moment, Kartal realized that everything was a cycle. The pains in the past had brought him here, to this summit. Those pains had taught him strength. Strength was not only a physical ability, but also a spiritual skill. Confronting the past and accepting it was a way to truly become free. The eagle finally managed to climb to the top. His eyes were shining as he looked up to the sky. At that moment, it was as if the meaning of everything had changed. Every pain, every difficulty had a new meaning for him. Standing at the top, feeling the wind, he was no longer just an eagle. He had become one with all his past, all his strength, and all his fears. After reaching the top, the eagle began to fly up to the sky. But this time, it was different from the previous flights. Nothing was stopping him. Now he saw freedom not as a goal, but as a process. With each flight, he felt stronger. As he climbed higher, the spaces inside him became smaller. With each flap of his wings, he found more peace in everything he left behind. And now, as he flew higher, the shadows of the past were moving away from him. As he flew through the sky, the eagle occasionally glanced at the past. But now, this past was not fearful to him, but a lesson. He realized that reaching the top was not just a physical goal for him, but also a spiritual victory. Because reaching the top was not just about gaining height, but also finding an inner balance. As the eagle soared through the sky, he felt free. The sky did not belong to him alone. He was a part of that sky. With every flight, with every flap of his wings, he felt the power within him. That old wounded eagle had now become a strong and free bird. But more importantly, he had found himself.